If you haven't read this book yet, you need to go and buy it. No, this is not a paid advertisement. No, this is not a self-serving endorsement. And no, this is not a flash-in-the-pan, trendy, hipster, feel-good way of looking at the third commandment of the 10 Commandments in the Bible. This book, Bearing God's Name, Why Sinai Still Matters by Dr. Carmen Imes, is groundbreaking, cutting-edge theology that is not only well-researched and carefully argued, but readable and approachable as well. Well, that's the review. Now go and read it. In this video, I will describe how it corrects misunderstandings of the third commandment, how it offers a better interpretation, and why it's important for the followers of King Jesus to develop our collective identity as representatives of his kingdom. If you're not familiar with this channel, and if this is your first time, welcome. Global Semester is a channel that is all about becoming better cross-cultural representatives of King Jesus locally and globally. The book's central argument is actually not just about correcting this misunderstood commandment. Dr. Carmen Imes argues for the importance of Sinai, or Israel's encounter with God at Sinai, and how this is important in the formation of Israel's identity and vocation, and by extension and in continuity with this, for the identity and vocation of followers of Jesus Christ. Israel was to be Yahweh's treasured possession, that's their identity, who have been entrusted with a great responsibility to represent God well to the nations around them, that's their vocation. This is the context in which the understanding of the third commandment makes the most sense and corrects misunderstanding. So what are some of the misunderstandings of "you shall not take the Lord's name in vain"? When I was growing up, I've been taught that it's about not saying curse words, or at least using God or Jesus Christ as a swear word for fear that one might be struck by lightning. Then in seminary, I learned that some have taken this to mean not making oaths in God's name that one might break or not fulfill. Then 7 years ago, John Piper weighs in on this as he reinterprets this instead as not emptying God's name and making it useless and valueless. While these various interpretations are not necessarily wrong, they don't fully take into account the context of the covenant that Yahweh makes with Israel, nor do they bring in how the other translations of the same Hebrew word in other parts of the Hebrew Bible, the word is translated as to carry, to bear, or to lift. This is the same verb that is used when Aaron the high priest was to bear the names of Israel before Yahweh in Exodus 28:12, or when priests would carry poles to carry the Ark of the Covenant in Exodus 37:5, or when a group of people were to carry the tent of the tabernacle when the Israelites were on the move in Numbers 10:17. So what is the better translation for this misunderstood commandment that is currently rendered in English as, "You shall not take the name of Yahweh your God in vain," or "You shall not misuse the name of Yahweh your God in vain"? And it's this: "You shall not bear God's name in vain." This brings in the idea of a name tag to represent your name, or a flag to represent your nation, or team jerseys to represent your team. This is the person or group that we represent and to whom we belong. So this command means to not represent God lightly or uselessly, or to not misrepresent God. Israel was called to be a nation of priests, a holy nation, so that they would become God's representatives to the world, so that the nations around them would notice Israel's ethical standards and wonder who Yahweh is, as Deuteronomy 4:6-8 says. Then the nations would discover Yahweh, who is compassionate and gracious, who is slow to anger, who is abounding in loyal love and faithfulness, and who is just. Ethical standards. You see, the law is not just about how to get right with God, like a works righteousness thing. God rescued them from slavery and injustice in Egypt. Israel already experienced God's grace and free gift of salvation. The law that Israel receives is to show how to take God seriously and how to treat people with respect and value. Dr. Imes also argues that the giving of the law was also God's way of giving Israel another gift. Now, God is defining the relationship. He's making it official, or more formally, ratifying the covenant, like a treaty a mighty king would make with lesser kings, as Imes describes. But also like a marriage covenant, where the roles and responsibilities of both parties are clarified. It's putting to paper the fulfillment of God's promise to Abraham generations ago to make him into a great nation, so that the nations would be blessed through them. But it's also putting to paper some clarifying guidelines or laws of Abraham's role to do righteousness and justice, as in Genesis 18. One of my big takeaways from the book is the introduction of the Hebrew term segulah, which has been translated as treasured possession, in reference to God's proclaiming Israel's identity before God in Exodus 19:3-6. Dr. Imes notes that this term is used elsewhere in the ancient Near East, and segulah could refer to someone who enjoys a special status in relation to the king. Dr. Carmen Imes spells out what this greater responsibility of covenant faithfulness could mean in the areas of ethical standards and cultic purity. From this, bearing Yahweh's name is a great responsibility that will either bring Yahweh honor among the nations or shame in the eyes of the nations. The Bible often uses the term profaning the name of Yahweh among the nations. This continues on in the story of the Hebrew Bible and culminates in Jesus, who perfectly bears God's name among the nations. Jesus, the compassionate and generous King, who healed and restored people to life. Jesus, the obedient, suffering servant, who faced death and evil head-on and came out victorious. Jesus, the righteous intercessor, who does justice and righteousness. It is this Jesus who is the King who takes on this identity as the segulah, the beloved of the Father, and the vocation to represent the name of the Father well to the nations. And it is this Jesus who commissions his disciples to go to the nations and make disciples. He also instructs them to baptize in the name of the Father and of the Son and of the Holy Spirit. To me, this means let them take on this identity as God's beloved ones, and to take on this vocation as a people who will now bear the name of the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, and to bear it well in this world. Now, here are 3 reasons why I think this book is important for us who are trying to become better cross-cultural representatives of King Jesus locally and globally. This book reminds us that Israel was first saved by God's grace through trust in Yahweh, and the laws were given to clarify their role as covenant partners who were meant to represent the name of Yahweh well to the world. This is important to embody and to communicate with others, because the teachings and wisdom of the Hebrew Bible is not how we enter into the family of God, but how we can be better image bearers of God to each other. This book reminds us that the laws in the Hebrew Bible are still important. The laws and commands are not meant to be static. They are meant to be dynamic and have underlying principles of justice and righteousness, equity and goodness that can be translated and adapted to different circumstances, contexts, and even cultures. The laws are not about getting you across the finish line to get to heaven, but they are guidelines that teach wisdom to be able to live well with others in the here and now. Dr. Imes also reminds us that Sinai is important as we tell and retell, remind and reenact our collective story as followers of Jesus, so that we remember our identity and vocation. She writes this: if Israel forgets their story, they're in danger of forgetting who they are and to whom they belong. To include another voice into this, the late Chief Rabbi of the UK, Jonathan Sacks, also advocates that we need to continue to tell our story and what values we live by in order to strengthen our group identity. He says that doing this makes us secure enough in who we are that we can make room for others and to welcome the other, people who have different worldviews, values, faiths, and to share our lives, our hopes, and dreams with them. So I encourage you to check out this book yourself. There's so much more in it that are gold nuggets, and she provides further resources for you to dig deeper into the Bible and other scholarly works. And spoiler alert, Dr. Imes also argues that this commandment to bear God's name is actually the second commandment. And Exodus 20 verses 2 to 6 are part of the same commandment. So what are your thoughts? Have you read this book? What did you like about it? What did you find surprising? Share your thoughts down below, subscribe today, and as always, you can check out more videos right now. Shalom v'chesed ve'emet, my friends.